Welcome to the fifth episode of the American Jail Association podcast. I'm joined today by Shaun Klucznik. Shaun is the current president of the American Jail Association. He is with the Hernando County Sheriff's Office in Brooksville, Florida. And also, I have Stacy Heath as a guest. She's from Seminole County Sheriff's Office in Sanford, Florida. Welcome, everyone. And today's topic is programming. Stacy, why don't you get us started by talking a little bit about the programming at your jail?
Hello, everyone, and hello, Chris. Thank you for having me on. First, I just want to talk about the importance of programming in general. So, the reason why programs are so vital to corrections is because if you think about the criminal justice system as a whole, the only opportunity there is to create long-term positive change is really our branch, the field of corrections. So we have a very, very important role for really improving our communities, if you think about it. So that's the overall vision of why programming is so important in the field of corrections. And then the other things that programs do internally for our organizations is they actually improve how operations go. They help with security because inmates are busy doing positive things instead of doing negative things. And I also think that they help with morale. When staff feel like they are helping someone, they're going to perform better, they're going to have a better morale. And again, also that community component because we really do have the ability to create positive change in our communities. So I think that's an overview of why programs are important overall. And then kind of a look into the programs at Seminole County and some of the things that we have done. And I think that a lot of facilities are doing similar things. But in 2019, one of the things that we're really proud about is we started the ACTT program, which is focused on recovery. And it's focused on opiate addiction or addiction overall, because we realized in our communities that that was our struggle with our population. So we started that and we've been 5 years going strong and we've had a lot of success stories. We also have a GED program, and I know that Major Klucznik has one of those in his facility. We've had a lot of success with that. We have religious programming, we have reentry services, job readiness, trauma-informed care. Really, if you can think about it and it's a concern, we've created some type of programming to try to address the issue.
Okay, great. That's great background information. Shaun, what would you add to that? And if you could talk a little bit about how inmates get exposed to the programming that is available in your jail.
So as Stacy indicated, one of our, it should be like basic, right? The GED program, that is our most successful program on the recidivism side, which is something you could argue about depending on how you track it, or even if you try to track it, because it's even harder for us in jails than it is for prisons to track. But anybody who leaves here with a GED don't come back. I mean, we have over 90% success rate of people that secure their GED while in custody don't come back to our facility. I don't know if they drive 2 hours away to Seminole County and recidivate over there, but they're not coming back through our doors, which is great. To expose the population to what's available. Back in the day, Stacy probably remembers, we used to tape a calendar to the wall, and the inmates would come up, and sometimes they'd take half of it or rip one off just to remember which one they want to go to, which would make it hard for the rest of the housing unit. But now, through the use of technology, we have two different systems. We have a system that has like a 50-inch TV on it that just constantly pushes, I'm going to joke around here and say, pushes propaganda. That's all the stuff we want them to see all the time. It has our orientation videos for the intake housing units, and it talks about topics that come up. And we used it a lot during COVID, just giving them updates. But that also advertises our programming. And then through the use of our technology, we partner with Smart Communications, and every one of our inmates has a tablet assigned to them, and it's all there. It's all there. The calendar can be set. The inmate can actually take the time to add the programs to their personal calendar, just like we would with Outlook, and it'll remind them, hey, this program's coming up, start getting ready, and they can do that if they want to. Otherwise, it's just available there. That same simple calendar that used to be taped to the wall is also available on the screen, so they could always look it up. That's how they look up their rec schedule, and they know how to do other things too. But that's the best way for them to find it.
Thanks, Sean. And Stacy, if there's anything you want to add to what he just shared, that'd be great. If not, if we could go ahead and just talk about what are some key considerations for a jail that's maybe looking to start up different programs and expand what they're doing with programming. If you could talk a little bit about that as well, that would be great.
Yeah, so just one thing to add to what Shaun just said, word of mouth is also very powerful. So if an inmate completes a class and he really enjoys it, he goes back to the housing unit, and it's the oldest method to get people interested in classes. But we've really noticed that we have some of the same systems, the technology, but that old school word of mouth is one of the best ways that inmates find interest in other programs. But a simple kind of format, if you will, to start a program in any correctional facility. What I always like to do is first and foremost is to think about the needs of your population. Like we talked about in 2019, when we saw what was happening in the community, and we know that jails are always a reflection of the community, right? So if there's a need in the community, that same need is going to be in your correctional facility. So first, find out what your greatest needs are. And then you want to find out how to start those programs based on those needs with little to no cost. We have an inmate welfare fund, which is all the money in that fund is required to use for inmate programming, right? There's laws that govern how you spend that money, and you can use that money, but you also need to reach out to your community because there's tons of volunteers that want to support inmate programs. They want to help, they want to come in, they want to volunteer, and the majority of those programs are free. So we've done a lot of that, a lot of community partnering, especially when we started our program up in 2019. A lot of our drug treatment, AA and NA, all of those people come in for free. And then the last thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you do assessments on these programs and make sure that they are relevant and that they're performing well and that the inmates are actually getting something from those. Because you don't want to spend money, even if it's the inmate's money, on something that's not working. So you want to make sure that periodically you go back and do some type of assessment on those programs. But I think that that's the three fundamental things that I would say. Find out the needs, address those needs by using your volunteers or your inmate welfare program, and then reassess those to make that sure that you're addressing those needs periodically.
Right. And those community connections sound invaluable in trying to get a program started as well. I would imagine that your program can only be as strong as what you have out there in the community as far as other folks who will step up and partner with you. Shaun, do you have any thoughts to add to that?
Now, Stacy's spot on. We took our facility over from a private vendor just over 15 years ago, and I was amazed, honestly, with the lineup of community partners, volunteers that were already established that wanted to maintain their relationship with the county jail. And I think our relationship's only improved. And I know for a fact, especially the religious groups, there's a strong group. I mean, we have so many churches in this county, and I think half of them have a program here. Sometimes they're knocking on the door, and sometimes we just don't have room. We can't run a program at 2 o'clock in the morning, so sometimes we gotta balance that out and sometimes offer it and switch it out for every 2 weeks, just because we have so many volunteers that want to participate. But we don't want to ostracize them and say, hey, sorry, we just don't have room. And well, honestly, what's kind of cool for us is right across the parking lot from us, there's a Department of Corrections prison. And sometimes we share their volunteers too. So sometimes they do a church service across the street, and then they come over here and do the same thing. So they get to, more bang for their buck, which is free for us, and we take advantage of that. But I agree. We have to make sure the community is heavily involved. Again, same time, those community members also go out and talk about what's going on inside the jail. So if we're having good positive interactions with the staff, good positive interactions actually with the population, they're going to be your defenders if something bad happens in your jail one day, and they're going to come to bat and back the sheriff or back the jail administrator and help out because they're part of the community. I mean, we are not running a prison, we're running a jail, and anybody who's sentenced to county jail is going to end up back in the community. So we want to make sure that they're going back better equipped. Kind of, going back to the last question, one thing that kind of helps us with the tablet is the virtual programs we have on the tablet. As the inmates complete them, they get a certificate, and ultimately they can get them printed out and go into job interviews. They can put it in a book. They can show part of their resume that they've completed these courses. But I've heard that the inmate population is they're getting through the training. I'm hoping they're getting some benefit from it, but they're also trying to challenge each other, saying, "Hey, I got 10 certificates. Well, I got 14," and they try to catch up. So it becomes almost a little competitive with that component of it. But the live in person, we definitely depend on volunteers, and it's a blessing, at least in Hernando County, to have that kind of a group of people that want to come in here and help us out.
See, that's fantastic information, Shaun. And Stacy, one of the things he talked a little bit about was, support from the sheriff. And, we all know that resources, both financial and human, can be very limited in a jail. Can you talk a little bit about what you're looking at as far as a commitment of resources, and then what's involved with kind of getting buy-in from the county, from your sheriff and the jail command staff, and talk a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. What I can say about our sheriff here is he is the biggest advocate for what we do inside of corrections. I mean, on so many platforms, I've heard him spoke about the important work that we do inside of these walls. He likes to talk a lot about not reentry, but habilitation, because we are actually teaching them a skill that they've never had before in a lot of cases. So, and he's, at the very top, obviously, of the chain here, but everyone underneath falls in with that same belief. We really all believe that you have to put something into these inmates while they're here, because the lasting impression that we put in them hopefully will carry out when they go back into the community. So he's a huge proponent. And then when he goes out and he's speaking, and everybody from the community, like Shaun was saying, they hear that, they realize that jails aren't what they see on TV, right? And that we're a lot of hardworking individuals here trying to better the community. So it's that full circle moment. And that also brings a lot more volunteers here wanting to help when they hear, the sheriff out there speaking about the good work that we're doing inside of the correctional facility. So we have tons of support in Seminole County from our sheriff.
That's great to hear. And you mentioned the community and the impact on the community. And I would imagine that one of the impacts is just helping fulfilling needs around jobs within the community, right? There's certain areas where there's always a lot of demand, construction, mechanical type jobs. So do you provide that type of vocational programming for your inmates as well?
Absolutely. One of the most successful programs that we have here is called iBuild. And what it is a basic construction course. The inmates get OSHA certified. They learn how to do, again, basic construction skills. They hold up the flags for the traffic when it's going through. But they are also placing these inmates in jobs, and they have 100% job placement, which means if you get out and you follow up with them, they're going to find you a job because the need is there. There's so many openings for these type of jobs. And, there's all these buildings going up, which they're going to have these people there to kind of help with the basic construction of these things. So, yeah, we are helping with the economy for sure. And I
Hmm.
think that the more the community understands that once inmates are released, they can help with the community. They can help improve their communities. I think that it will open their eyes a little bit too, as the workforce here is really good. There's a lot of potential here.
Okay. And Sean, what about your agency?
Same thing. We partnered with the Contractors Institute, which is just south of our county. They came up here and they provided two different rounds of just basic the basic courses before the inmates can go out and get certified. And one of our biggest, believe it or not, one of our biggest certifications that we offer is actually not taught by our reentry people or taught by our GED people. It's taught by the kitchen staff. I have staff, all of my kitchen deputies are certified as ServSafe instructors. And any of the inmate workers that go to the kitchens that, you know, they supply a huge part of what we do every day. That's serving 3 meals a day. They get certified as ServSafe handlers. And the best part is, those people could very well finish their sentence today or bond out tomorrow, and then they could be cooking your dinner in your community. Chris, you're coming to visit me in a couple weeks in Hernando County, and that when we go to dinner, somebody could be certified because of my facility, and I'd be 100% okay with that. I've been working in jails for over 28 years at this point, and I haven't gotten any food poisoning yet. And my facility is, I'm telling you what, knock on wood, we have never had a finding with our health department here. And that's some of that training. It talks about making sure the facility's clean, the kitchen's clean, and there's no cross contamination. It's a great little program, and all my staff have total buy-in with that, and it makes sure everybody feels safe and is safe.
Yeah, and
That's
just to touch on that again, we also have that program and some of the things that they teach, it's like basic hand washing. I'd
mhm.
much rather have somebody who's gone through that program than somebody on the outside who maybe hasn't gone through that program, because at least they're going to know how to properly clean their hands and their workstation. So it is really a great program.
Yes, it does sound like a great program. And I'm sure that when you're out in the community, occasionally you have experiences where you meet some of these people again and you see that they are being successful. And I'm sure as jail executives, that's probably one of the most rewarding parts of working with these programs, right? And so could you maybe share an incident like that or a success story that you're aware of someone who went through programming?
Yeah, I had not too long ago actually when I was going through a particular drive-through here locally, and I got up to the window and the person was like, "Hey, Cap," and handed me my bag, and I was like, "Ooh, I hope we had a good relationship." But yeah, it happens all the time because, like Sean said before, these people are getting out. We run county jails. So, sometimes they're here for a little bit longer, but a lot of times it's just kind of that door where they're cycling in and out. So, I'm hoping that maybe that person went through the Save Serve program. But yeah, I've dealt with that a lot throughout my career of 25 years being in the field.
Sean, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. So we have people that have completed some of the programs we have, especially the the drug treatment programs, and as they build basically their resume while they're in custody, and they get out and they have success and they find jobs and they find housing and they're just better off. We've had people actually just show up in the lobby and request to speak to employees that they were interacting with most. And there's been times, honestly, there's been times where we've had they were willing to take a picture, and we were able to do that to do a little jail marketing. So, success story, tell their story, and then post it on social media, and they're okay with it because they also become, they've fully bought in. They know the stuff works and you can make changes. And if they recognize that if their story will help somebody, then why not put it out there? And that all the way down to when it comes to GED graduations, we have a lot of followers on our Facebook page at the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. And I know we always get the most clicks when we put pictures of our canines up there, especially when you put silly hats on them. It's their birthday. But then the second most popular posts are typically when somebody graduates with a GED and the sheriff's there to congratulate them. And sometimes we bring county commissioners in. The county commissioner is also there to congratulate them because the county commissioner is ultimately responsible for the jail. So it's always positive, and those kind of results, they matter. It's good.
Hmm. Okay. And Stacy, any closing thoughts that come to mind?
Well, again, I just want to touch again on we've spoke a lot about the value for the inmate, but I also think there's a huge value for the officers. What we do on a day-to-day is a difficult job. We see the worst in people. So sometimes to see the best in these individuals, it really does help our staff with morale, and it helps them realize that what they do is very important.
Agreed. Sean, any other thoughts in closing?
I couldn't have said it better than Stacy just did. Those positive stories, because hearing the door slam behind you and walking on concrete, it gets rough. But in seeing the fact that you're actually improving your community, even if it's just one person at a time, is it's life changing. And we get into this job. Sometimes we get into this job, we don't know what it really is until we're into it for 5 years, and then realize you can do great things, and you can really change somebody's life and make the community safer by making sure the people that you're releasing back into the community are not going to go back to trying to steal from cars or hurt people. It's definitely worth it. It's worth the time, especially since honestly, besides some of the infrastructure and some of the tools, most of it's free. Most of these
Mhm.
people are volunteering that are willing to come in here and do that. So it's not a huge burden on the taxpayer. I'll close with this. I know the FCC ruling that just changed and the 2-cent additive for our phone systems is going to take a hit to a lot of people's programming. But AJs are going to keep pushing, fighting that fight. But luckily for us, most of the free labor is the volunteers that we love every day.
Okay. Well, Sean and Stacy, I really appreciate your time today. Great information you shared, and hopefully, it'll encourage some folks who may be at a smaller jail or just starting to explore programming, or a jail that's already has some programs in place to kind of expand what they're doing, right? Because it does make a big impact on public safety, and it does do a lot for employee morale internally. So thanks for sharing this information today, and I look forward to visiting your facility and learning more about your programming here in a couple of weeks. As you said, Sean and Stacy, I had the privilege of visiting your jail about a year ago, so I'm more familiar with what you've got going on there. So great to see you both. Thanks again for your time today.